Welcome everyone to Male Fuzz TV. I am Peter and that is Tara. We talk about TV shows here. The year is 2022 and the name of the show is Babylon 5. This is season 5 episode 6. It is called Strange Relations. So full spoilers for the episode as always. There's a lot of plots going on in this episode actually. That there's a subplot with Londo and like an attempted assassination that feels bizarrely kind of small for what it is, but at the same time that's going on. There's some more Garibaldi and Lockley butting heads and tensions there. The main plot though is that Bester is on the station with his like telepath SWAT team. And they're coming for the telepaths that are hiding here because they're all runaways, right? The Psycho wants them all, obviously. They don't like Byron very much, so that is the gist of it. Oh, if I make up a bit. Tara, what did you make of Strange Relations?
I like this episode. There's a lot of juicy reveals that happen in this. I enjoyed the plot with Bester and Byron and Lita, and we get some nice Zach Allen moments. Some nice Garibaldi moments.
And Bridge Boy.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I don't think Bridge Boy would have stolen a bit of food off Vonova's plate. I think this is a major step.
Yeah. He's really pushing to see like where the boundaries are here.
He's grown up.
I'm
here.
pretty sure like after this scene happened, there's something happened off screen.
I feel
where she said, "Who told you could take my food? And who told you could have lines in this episode?" Smack, smack, smack. Because she's a hitter.
I feel like Lockley took him to like the dungeon part of the station.
She's
whatever
definitely
that is.
the dominatrix here.
Yes. The playroom is
Bridge boy.
Christian Grey would call it.
Yep. Totally getting that vibe.
Yeah, and he's going to remember that he stole a bit of food off her plate. I feel like.
Well, she likes to be in charge, and she needs to remind him of that. So. And
she's feeling like her authority has been diminished by how much like Sheridan and Delenn keep overruling her. That she's probably going to take it out on Bridge Boy. Like.
Oh, totally.
She's going to like funnel that all through him.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Absolutely, I hope that's the next episode.
Yeah, I did notice actually, Bridge Boy is technically in the opening title sequence. His back's to the camera, but there is a shot of him. It's from the first episode when he's like waiting for the ship to arrive. I was like, technically, yeah. Bridge Boy's on the opening credits. His name's not there, but he's there.
Good for him.
Yeah, that's it may not be the first time, but this is the first season we've said we really want it. We want Bridge Boy in the opening titles. So
it was probably in Claudia Christian's last clause or something. I'll come back for the movie, but you can't have Bridge Boy in the opening credits.
Are you telling me this is a shoot like dominatrix dominee relationship where the actors are also like that? Okay.
Oh, totally.
Oh, so it was all improv. It wasn't even in the script. It was just the first time they had a scene together of, Claudia Christian was just like,
I'm sure, yeah, Bridge Boy's just assigned to their trailers. Like, whatever strong female is in the role.
Oh, dear. We kept that joke going there for like 3 minutes. I'm proud of us. But yeah, so I think some serious business. I liked a fair chunk of this episode. I will say this is the episode where I've liked Byron the least. I like the plot.
Not me.
I like the plot surrounding the telepaths and like the decisions and the debates that other people are having about them. But Byron's got a couple of monologues this episode where he's talking to Lita, or
that's all he knows how to do is monologue.
Or when she shows up towards the end because she's like properly in the cult now, and they're singing songs like they're at church, and I'm like, you know what? Okay, like there's a few lines here being crossed for me now.
I was getting some like vampire vibes from like the first scene with him and Lita together. There's like candles everywhere.
Oh yeah,
and he's got that long hair, like a 90s, I don't know, gothic romance, the Harlequin novel.
You said vampire.
I said vampire already.
Yeah. I'm sure. Well, obviously, the main vampire thing I think of in the 90s is the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which most of the vampires did not have long hair. Well, the guys anyway. Obviously, the women mostly
They definitely
did.
had candles around, though.
They had candles around. That's very true.
Seems risky, though. Aren't aren't they prone to fire?
Well, they are, but no more than we are. Like, they can burn, but like so can we, and we still have candles. So
I just thought vampires, like, you know, kind of like the sun, don't like fire. Like, they'll light up easily.
No, like
Like, they're just made of hairspray.
Decapitations and fire will kill them, but they're not any more like, you know, dangerous or like
Okay, so they're
threatened
not
by it than
highly
we are.
flammable.
No, they're not highly flammable. You know, the
I'm
things
glad
that
we
they
were able to get vampire talk back in our reviews.
But the other stuff, though, obviously they have like direct, you know, garlic, the sun, like those are direct like things that affect them more than us. Whereas, whereas the fire and the decapitations are things we share.
Daywalkers.
What?
Wesley Snipes. They're highly vulnerable to Wesley Snipes.
Oh! I see. I see what the joke
Blade
was.
films.
I thought you were just like yelling out, "Oh, I know a vampire movie. I can reference this is a vampire movie. I know Blade."
I know Blade. I don't know Daywalkers.
There's also a movie called Daywalkers. Yes.
I assume so. That's what I thought you meant. Anywho, yeah, he's very like straight out of a romance novel in this episode, but you know, I don't mind it. I don't mind him with Lita. Like, I think he's a bit in my head. Like, whenever you see Byron with all the other telepaths, like they never talk to each other. They always just sort of stare and hug or whatever. Like in this episode, assuming that they're just communicating telepathically. Although they don't sing telepathically, which is weird. Like, why not?
Yeah, I thought of this. I mean, I think the argument, and I think it's a sound argument, no pun intended, that the point of music is sound, right? So, yeah, you can do it in your head, but it's not the same as actually hearing it and actually hearing the reverberations and feeling it, right? So I think that's why you would still sing, even if you otherwise communicate in your head.
But if you sing in your head and like telepathically, then you're always going to get the right notes and you're always going to be in harmony.
I don't think that's true. I think when I sing in my head, I'm also as equally attuned as I am in the real world.
I'm way better singer in my mind.
I don't think you actually are. I just think you are.
Oh, I nail every note.
Now, the beauty of this
when
is
I sing telepathically.
Yes, the beauty of this is that I can never prove you wrong, but I am sure you're wrong.
Yeah. So anyway, I was thinking maybe that's why he always does monologues, is because, you know, he's all pent up from not speaking for so long that when he sees Lita, he has to give a monologue.
It's like word porn for him. He gets to just like, I'm not just going to say simple sentences. I'm going to wax lyrically from my favorite like plays and poems and shit, because I'm an artsy mofo kind of dude. Yeah, so I liked that they were able to sense Bester arriving with his squad. That felt kind of nice. I even think about it because it happened so quickly, but like when Garibaldi found out Bester was on the station, the way he just stormed off, like ready to rip his head off, I was like, oh yeah, of course he's reacting like this. This is the first time he's seen him since everything happened with him. So I loved that. And yeah.
Oh, I was just thinking of the scene where Lockley like holds him back, even though she's much smaller than him, and then just slugs him in the face, and then talks about how like everybody fights on this station, and she doesn't understand why things always lead to violence. Like, you just slugged a guy.
Yeah. I suppose we could pivot into the Garibaldi and Lockley stuff, because Garibaldi overhears at the start a little bit of Delenn and Lockley's, because Delenn goes to Lockley to. And they don't say it out loud in this scene. It's not until later when Garibaldi's asking about it we finally hear it said out loud. But Delenn's like, oh, I know. And Lockley's like, oh, it's a shame that you know. I don't want it to be awkward. But you know that you know. It should be kept between us. Okay. And like Garibaldi just peers around the corner like, what is this juicy information? I did like though that it brought back him looking up her file, because she finds that out when they're looking into like anyone who's been snooping around recently, and when she goes to speak to him in the brig, and he's like, I don't trust you. Why did Sheridan hire you? There's something more to this, right? Because our arguments for like kind of working with Bester like diplomatically are kind of fair, right? You know, she goes to Sheridan and explains that, look, EarthGov wants this. They're in the alliance. Technically, we should still play nice with them as best we can. This is not Clark's regime that's in charge anymore, but Psycho are still there, and EarthGov still sees these telepaths as like, you know, fugitives or whatever. So we have to play nice and figure something out. But when she goes to talk to Garibaldi, he's like, okay, but let's talk about this. Let's talk about why you're here, right? There's something else. Like, why did he pick you? And like, why does he trust you? And it turns out not only were they in a relationship, they were married briefly in their youth.
So juicy.
And didn't last very long, but that's how he knows her. That's how he knows to trust her. That they will challenge each other and like sort of make each other prove their points, things like that. She was on the other side during the Earth War. That's been obviously pretty much confirmed already anyway, but she outright kind of says it here. And you know, that's kind of the point, is that it's like bringing Earth back together because someone who was on the other side is now running Babylon 5 under the Alliance president. So you know, it's a whole thing. But I did appreciate that he's like, okay, you let me out then now? She's like, no, not until Bester's gone. I'm not an idiot.
I don't want to file all the paperwork for you decapitating him.
I did very much enjoy that. And you know, Sheridan's reaction as well when he's talking to Lockley is like, oh, Bester's here, you don't know what he did. And like, you know, because he also obviously holds a grudge for numerous reasons. If anything, like, their hatred of Bester might be the most unifying thing between Sheridan and Garibaldi at this point.
I imagine so, especially since they were so divided in the last season.
Yeah. So, no, I enjoyed it. Obviously, there's the joke ending. It's after Bridge Boy is, you know, talking to her that she's like, I feel like I'm forgetting something. Oh, yeah, Bester's already... like Garibaldi. I love it. You can hear Garibaldi yelling to whoever the guard is at the door. Mm-hmm. Also, another little touch is the two guards she tells to put him in the brig, like, hesitate and don't really want to do it because it's Garibaldi. And then she has to, like, threaten them with a court-martial to get them to move. Yeah, little things like that. They're nice.
Yeah. It's a nice payoff for 4 seasons of, you know, watching the show.
Yeah,
we know their history. Yeah,
they like Garibaldi. They trust him, so they don't really want to do this. In fact, even the guy before, when he finds out, he comes in and he's like, "Oh, is the chief's here?" The chief meaning Zach, and he's like, "No, he's away to do something. Well, what's up?" It's like,
you can tell me. We're friends.
I'm not supposed to tell you. Come on, I'm Garibaldi.
Mr. Garibaldi.
And he's like, all right, fine, Bester's here. What? And then he stops. It's actually quite a funny scene in some ways when I stop and think about it. But.
True. Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Is there
what I want to say?
Is there a Garibaldi thought in that brain?
Oh, no. I don't know. I had something and then I lost it because he kept going with more plot stuff. Dang it.
Lockley.
Yeah, okay. It's a good plot. Good. Enjoyed it.
You lost what you had, and then your backup plan is, it was good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I don't really know what to say about the Garibaldi stuff. I mean, it is kind of a closed thing, right? Like he does technically have a few scenes in the episode, but he spends the whole time in the break. I guess I do kind of like the detail of him yelling in the background because, I mean, I imagine he would have a fear of enclosed spaces after being brainwashed and put in a room where he's just pacing around for a long time.
Yeah. Obviously, when he hears Bester's on board and we get all these quick flashbacks, it's just quick flashes of the key moments as he's storming to find him. I actually thought that worked quite well. Obviously, you could argue that it's just there because they moved network and they're making sure that new viewers get like a hint of what happened if they hadn't seen the rest of the show. But I actually think it's quick enough and there's like kind of like this rush of emotion that it worked in the moment, I thought. It didn't feel like too forced to me.
There's also a thing I didn't notice in the other episodes, but I'm sure it's been there, where like it was going to cut to commercial and then you see like a Babylon 5 shield logo come up. I don't know if I've noticed that before.
No, it wasn't in the last few. I noticed that too. This is the first time it's popped up. I think back in like season 1, occasionally there'd be like the ad break ident would be there for some reason, and I don't know why it's in some of these. Like obviously we're way past watching on like the actual networks and stuff. I don't know why, for the sake of remastering this, they kept this one here. Maybe it was something to do with the music sting getting into the next scene. I don't know, because
I did notice the music in this, actually. I thought it was quite loud for the scenes where sometimes it would be a very quiet moment where someone is like contemplating a thought, but then the music's telling you that it's really high stakes at the moment. And I don't know. I thought that was a bit odd.
Yeah. I was going to say is that I remember back in the DVD days, there was the odd show where they'd cut out the previously ons at the start, right? Because they think, people are watching it as a box set. They don't need the previously ons. But the problem with that is that sometimes they'd be scored for the music to kind of like bleed into the episode. So some of them would start like with a little end of a note, just sort of like kind of fading out. And it wasn't a big deal, but it was like noticeable. And that's like, so I'm wondering if the reason why they kept like the ident just here is because for some reason like the music was bleeding into the episode.
Maybe.
I don't know. I could be completely wrong. Maybe a completely different reason for it. I don't know. Maybe they were 3 seconds short of the runtime. Actually, it doesn't matter what that length it is, I suppose, on streaming services or VOD or whatever, but you know what I mean.
Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's I thought maybe I had missed it and it was just something that was added for the new season or the new network.
No, this is the first time I spotted it as well. I mean, I presume that when it was airing, it might have been there every episode at every ad break, but I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, so back to the telepath stuff though. When Bester and his goons come for the telepaths, like Lita's there to stand, face them, like, and she like kind of like snaps her head at them, and like the goons like start like feeling pain and their head goes back, and Bester's like, oh, is this actual telekinesis, or are you just like messing with their their brain nerves to like make them think they're feeling pain? Like what is the...
I had that same thought. Like, what's happening here?
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea that even she doesn't really know. She's just kind of like feeling motivated, and it's kind of like driving her to like a... At best, like, yeah, I forgot you got an upgrade. You're actually much more powerful than you're supposed to be, so I guess I'll have to come back with 50 telepaths. You'll never be able to withstand all that.
He doesn't know.
Yeah.
She doesn't know either.
That's true. She is looking a little bit like tired. Like, after these few little like neck snap things. I mean, when I say neck, she's not snapping people's necks. I just mean she's like snapping her. She's started going like this with her face.
It's like they've been punched or something in the face. Yeah.
But eventually they do get all the telepaths. Like they kind of like they all separate, and then they get hunted down one by one, and then eventually there's only a few left, and then ultimately they get Byron. In fact, I did think there was a really cheesy bit of direction when there's like the two telepath of Bester's
I thought you
goons.
would like this.
It was like, I thought the shot going up to Byron, so there's this kind of like smooth tracking shot going up to Byron, as if like there's a floating presence going up towards him, and I like that because it was kind of emulating the idea that they're not physically running to him, they are telepathically going up to him, so that's why it's this floaty, almost like flying feel going up to him, and I like that. But then the reverse shot, it cut to them running in slow motion down the hallway, and I'm like, no, you're right. What was this? Why are you running? It just looked really goofy.
It did look a little goofy, yeah.
I wasn't into that, but yeah. So I did appreciate the debate of like how to deal with this. Seeing Lockley like try and keep the promise that Sheridan made to the telepaths by coming up with this medical reason why they have to stay quarantined for 60 days in case they've caught anything off any aliens. I appreciated that. I also appreciated that Bester's like, this is kind of bullshit, but you work better with me than any previous captain has, so in the hopes that we've got a future relationship that is nice and beneficial to each other, I'm going to accept this. It's only 2 months, but they can't leave.
I actually got the feeling that Bester kind of likes her, that they have some sort of history together in mutual respect, because whenever she talks to him like he's a friend, like they know each other, which they do in a way. So I don't know, like even when she's explaining like, it's out of my control, I really can't do anything, I want to help you, I want to help you, and I don't want them here either. Like she keeps emphasizing that. So trying to let him know that they're still friends. And he's not, I don't know if he's just ignoring that she's lying about it, or if he really doesn't know. Like he actually does trust her.
He's not scanning her. Yeah,
that will be to their advantage later on.
Yeah, I think I think they don't really know each other that well before this, but the way she is talking to me, you're right. That she is kind of like doing this very diplomatic, like, oh, this is a friendly ambassador style meeting. You know, when she's first having tea with them or whatever it is, when Garibaldi comes
like
storming
laughing
in
and stuff.
Yeah, she's playing the game basically. She's playing the political game, which I do appreciate that. And it is. I'm glad Bester's back. It makes sense if we're doing telepath stuff this season. That Bester and Psycho are part of that. I was
excited to see him. Hell yeah.
Well, you're a Star Trek fan. Of course, you're excited to see Bester.
Always.
Here's a question though: is Bester a better character than Chekhov?
I mean, yeah, just because there's more of a character.
I agree. I was just wondering if you were going to fight it though, because you know you're a Trek.
I think his acting as Bester is worse than when he was Chekhov, but I still enjoy it. Like, I just think he's a bit hammy in the show.
To be fair,
it's
though,
okay for the show.
But he never really got anything dramatic as Chekhov though. He was just comic relief. So
in the movies, a little bit.
A little bit, but you know, he was kind of this goofy guy with an accent in Star Trek, whereas here he's actually, you know, maybe this intimidating. Don't get me wrong, I agree, he's a bit hammy, but it's fun hammy. You know, there's a lot of character in it.
I enjoy it. I don't think he's a good actor, but I do think he's fun to watch.
There was no like super dodgy guest stars this week though.
Nope.
Unlike last week with the crime boss did. He was terrible.
He was kind of fun, but yeah, he was very, I don't know, he was very Goodfellas on Babylon 5.
Well, Goodfellas, but with a very different accent.
Yeah, I couldn't remember, but he was very like mobster.
Yes. So, you know, Byron's like thankful that they've bought them this time. They've bought them this 60 days, and she has to, you know, keep that, you know, part of the promise true that they can't leave the station until then. And so we're going to have to think of some other solution or whatever. And I do wonder if like 60 days, like how much of the season, because the show is typically spanned a year per season, so that could literally just be like 3 or 4 episodes in the grand scheme of the season. Or is this a tighter season that only takes place over, you know, a few months?
Yeah,
so
I was curious about that too. Like, is this going to be the finale when he shows up? I mean, not the finale, but you know what I mean? Like the big ending for the season. Yeah.
Yeah, because like, you know, that's the thing with timelines and movies and TV. Like 60 days in a TV show could be 2 episodes, or it could be in a whole season. Like, it just depends. It could be multiple seasons. You know, just I think like Better Call Saul right now, which is in its final season. Like, I think the whole thing's only taken place over like 2 years, and it's been 6 seasons. So you know, there's not actually that much time moving, which makes sense given how much you're seeing and how many episodes there are. But you know, I think with network TV, you grow into this like expectation that it's kind of mirroring like real time passing in a way.
Sure. Yeah, I understand.
So anywho, so yeah, him and he kisses Lita at one point. She seems to be receptive of it. I think the only critique I'd have of Lita in this episode, because I do like that she kind of is starting to have a purpose, and she's kind of seeing that, oh, there's a future for telepaths, and she believes in what Byron's doing. There is a few times where she comes across like a completely different character almost, where she's like really, I don't want to say smitten. Smitten is maybe it is the right word, but where she's, you know, like Leah, I always think of as being a bit more of a, you know, I don't want to quite say hard ass, but you know, she's a bit more snipey, a bit more cynical, and I get that obviously things have changed here because she's found a bit of hope. But there were some times when she just sort of stared at Byron as he's, you know, doing his poetry or whatever.
Well, yeah. I mean, if Byron is like a cult leader who's trying to lure her in, she is kind of vulnerable because, I mean, we know from last season that she was really in a bad place and just looking for friendship. And luckily, you know, Zach came in to fill that friendship void for her, which is a nice thing that they, in this episode where they actually have a look of like, you know, he's disappointed in himself that he has to take custody of Byron.
Yeah, it's right after they've arrested him, and she walks in and sees him like sitting there, and Zach sort of looks at her. Yeah, so it's a good moment. Yeah, and there's a payoff for those of us who are like, oh yeah, they're friends, they have pizza together or whatever. And yeah, so I think that she is kind of lonely. So, and even Zach kind of brings up the point of,
maybe this charismatic leader is not a good thing to have. Like it could lead to trouble. So I don't know if they're setting that up or not.
To be fair, Tara, Zach himself was a victim of a charismatic leader to a point himself a couple seasons ago.
But they're still setting it up like we should still be skeptical of whoever Byron is and whatever this, group of people. Like they do seem like they just are down on their luck and they need help. And going to Psychor is clearly the wrong thing to do. So what do they do now? They just need asylum.
And Bester really wants Byron. Like he's like, especially him. Like he better be here. Like the rest of them, like if they fall out the airlock, whatever.
Well, I think he knows that he's the leader. So if you take down the leader, then everyone might be susceptible or might even turn themselves in. Who knows? It
does raise itself to the question though, because we keep sort of jokingly calling them a cult, and there's definitely some cult-like qualities to like how they're presented, but I think fundamentally there is that core question: is this a cult, or is this just genuinely a group of people who are they're breaking away from like the traps of like the society they're in, and they're going off to do their own thing, and that's a good thing that we should be like rooting for? Or is there a bit of a cult-like mentality here where maybe it is a little brainwashy? Like, I mean, given that they're all
a little weird.
They are a little bit weird, but they're also all telepaths, so I don't necessarily think that Byron can brainwash, in the literal sense, the other.
No, he's coming off more of like a, not like a Charles Manson, but like I don't know, like he is definitely like a Jesus character almost, he's trying.
That's just the hair. It's just the goddamn hair. That's why you think Jesus.
Well, no, not just that. Like it is a lot of like cult leaders kind of come off that way anyway, where they're just like, they're doing everything for the good of everybody who's part of the membership. But who knows? There may be something darker, something that we don't know that's happening. And maybe, First Lita succumbs to it because she's vulnerable, and then maybe we find out something bad's going on.
Well, that's what I'm saying though. I'm not sure there is something bad, and I'm not sure Lita's.
Not sure either.
Yeah.
But if they were setting that up,
but it was the way you said there that Lita's falling for it first because she's vulnerable, and I'm like, but is this like her falling for something because she's vulnerable, or is this her just finding a good purpose where she's actually finally got something she believes in, and this is a good thing for her? Like I could see it just being that. I
can too.
That said, though,
she deserves, she deserves a nice guy, long hair.
She did. What's long hair? Hey, there's nothing wrong with a man with less than long hair. Okay.
That's true. But I mean, like, he's a pretty guy.
I'll stick up for me and Larry David, all right? Okay. No, like, I have to admit though, she did look. I mean, obviously, it was all for good reasons. It wasn't like an actual like a traditional drug related thing, but there was kind of like a junkie quality of her just raiding all these like pills and stuff at the start in Medbay, and Franklin walking in like, Lita, what are you doing?
They're all going to get donated to the sick anyway.
Yes.
They don't need them. We need them. They're all sick.
And Franklin's kind of like, okay, you know what? In future, just ask. I'll forgive this because we've all made some questionable choices when it comes to medical treatment on this station, myself included. Totally. So.
Plus, I mean, Franklin, that was his gig in season 1, right? Was to like set up a med bay for the Brown Zone.
Oh yeah, it was 1, 2. He was doing that like for a while.
Yeah, for the people who are less fortunate.
Yeah, on Franklin, Delenn and Jakar make him a job offer. So he's still going to be in medbay, but he's going to like delegate some stuff because he's going to now be like the head medical researcher for the Alliance, particularly in the sense that all these new species more and more are going to be interacting with each other. So what diseases and viruses can actually jump from species to species, what complications might arise. So he's going to be makes some amount of sense,
Mm-hmm. Wasn't that a worry when that plague episode happened also?
I think so, yeah. And I think this probably lines up with that one, because I'm sure back then he said there wasn't a lot of information on like this stuff crossing over, and that's what he says here is like, there's some rough info based on what we've experienced so far, but it's really kind of unexplored for the most part. So and I buy that he's the most qualified in the sense that he's been treating like all these different species like over the last several years. So yeah, okay, all makes sense. The other big thing with the Alliance sort of building up stuff, though, is Londo. The episode starts with Londo and Zach, and they're, Londo's talking about how the fact that he'll be leaving and not coming back as often soon, and once he's Emperor, he'll probably never be back to Babylon 5, and except from maybe like an official state visit where he's like passing through. And it says that he actually is kind of sad about that, and he never, Zach's like, I wouldn't have expected you to be sad about that. He's like, yeah, neither did I. But, it's kind of funny how things change.
We are.
But of course, there's like an unrelated accident that delays all of the ships like docking, because like there's an explosion in one of the docking bays. So then nothing can dock, and then because of that, the ship that was meant to be taking him, like, it's like, we've got a schedule, we have to leave, Londo will just have to get the next transport. Turns out someone rigged his transport to explode when they started making their way to Centauri Prime. So it's like, and now this is like a third into the episode this happens, and I'm like, whoa, that's a big thing, like you drop it in.
Not according to the episode.
And we've got all this like telepath stuff going on. I'm like, that's definitely the main plot. This is weird that this is the B plot. Don't get me wrong, I like what it leads to, like the actual like plot conclusion, but it almost feels like it should be an A plot of its own episode rather than a B plot. But it is
kind of like a nothing thing. Like, was that entire ship just for Londo and like only a couple people lost their lives, or like was it full of people? Was it a transport ship? Like, it seems like it should have been a bigger deal than the episode made it out to be.
Yeah, I think when Bridge Boy said you'll just have to get the next something ship, I think he said something like I think it was mainly I don't want to say cargo, but it didn't sound like it was like a populated ship. It's there like this is a ship that's making trips to Centauri Prime and back because it's got stuff on it. So the passenger count was down to just the crew, basically, I assume. But
yeah, well, either way, I mean, they basically all shrug it off like, well, yeah, a lot of people want to kill Londo. Oh well.
Which actually led to probably my favorite like funny line of the episode, which is, so Delenn makes this suggestion to Jakar that Jakar should become Londo's bodyguard because there's going to be all these extra assassination tips, which lines up with the future. We know he's going to be by his side, so this is like kind of the start of that path. But what she suggests this is like imagine like you and Narn like being the bodyguard to the Emperor of Centauri Prime, and like, imagine that. It's like, yeah, like what do you think your people will think when they say that? I'll think they'll have 2 targets to aim at instead of 1. that line really made me laugh. Yeah.
Is Jakar like not an important figure on Narn? Like, I kind of thought that maybe he was I guess he is just still a citizen Jakar, and not like appointed anything.
I don't know if he's got that title. I think he might. I think he's officially part of the Alliance. Like, he works for the Alliance now, so I don't think the citizen part is relevant necessarily. But
he's a speechwriter for for Sheridan.
Yeah, he wants to do more, and Delenn comes up with this idea. So they're setting up my Odd Couple sitcom that I want with Londo and Jakar. Give it to me.
Londo's definitely the Klugman or the Oscar.
Yeah, but I love like just the banter when when Delenn puts them together towards the end of the episode, and they start arguing and bickering about who gets the ale seat. And Shakar's got a point. Like, the person protecting the other one should be on the ale, because they should be there to, like, fend off attackers potentially.
Yeah.
But Londo's not having any of it.
Yeah, I mean, they also bring up a good point that, Londo is a target for a lot of people. A lot of people want to see him hurt or killed. And maybe he shouldn't be on a station that's so full of just strangers and just whoever is on board.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
He's too many people have too much access to him.
Yeah, I mean, obviously emperors are a target for this kind of thing anyway, but yeah, him especially, because he's
not emperor yet.
Yeah, but I think that's why they're ramping up, is because they know he's going to become emperor when the current like interment guy dies. And we know that he's got the parasite attached to him, so I'll be curious to see like what follow up we might tease with that.
That's right.
But yeah. But I enjoyed the Odd Couple stuff. I enjoyed a lot of the episode. I just think that some of the Byron stuff was a bit flowery, and like, I'm not so sure I feel the romance. Like, it felt like a bit of a wet fart to me in the moment.
I don't know. I don't mind it.
Yeah, but there's not minded it, and then there's like, oh, this is great, and I'm enthralled, and I'm really rooting for them, and I'm feeling the passion.
Well, I hope it goes a lot faster than Sheridan and Delenn get into their romance, because that took like 3 seasons.
Yeah. Maybe it's just, the show's just got really bad luck when it comes to long-haired theatrical characters.
Well, I mean, he's definitely better than the last one. The last one was just overdoing it.
Sure.
Byron, like, he came on the scene and you know exactly what he is. He's just Fabio. Telepathic Fabio.
Well, there you go. That's the episode of Babylon 5. Yeah, so some interesting things. I did like the sort of the political struggle over what to do with the telepaths and how to like navigate Bester's like intentions with it and all that. And Garibaldi's anchor, the Odd Couple stuff with London Jacquard. There was a lot I liked in here, but there was definitely some stuff that felt a little under par as well. And that really stupid, cheesy shot of them running up towards Byron, like could do without that. But there you go. That's the episode. So let us know what you thought of the episode in the comments. Like, subscribe, ding the bell for notifications. You can support the show by hitting the super thanks button below the video, or they can do it elsewhere. Can't they? Tara.
That's right. You should probably explain it to them, because I think things are different now and I don't know what it is yet.
Oh, it's not that. You can go support us over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV and get some bonuses and whatnot. Including early access to a few things, including this at the $5 tier, if you so wish. There you go.
Oh, so early access is still at $5. Okay.
Yes, early access is still at $5. Yeah.
Okay.
You're good. All right, there you go. That is Strange Relations. We will see you next time for episode 7. So look forward to that. Keep watching TV. Just don't give away the home world.